Okay, welcome to showcase number 90. We have a bunch of stuff today, primarily because I didn't manage to get last showcase out, or rather, the showcase that never was out, the one that was supposed to happen on Monday. There are a couple of reasons for that. I don't typically like to make excuses, but this week has just been very gruesome for me in terms of time. I had to take my mom to the airport, or from the airport, sorry. I had to pick her up at like 2 a.m. It was my dad's birthday right after. So it was just a lot of stuff all at once, and right position on top of Monday, so it just didn't really work out. But I also ran into a ton of bugs that have all been squashed, so that's the primary reason that it didn't come out, and that's also a really good thing, because even if it doesn't come out, more bugs squashed is, more game progress. So we have a ton of stuff today regardless. It's all focused around injuries for the most part, engagements. I've reskinned engagements so they no longer look like they did before, and in my opinion that's a great thing, because in engagements before, they were kind of one of the worst interfaces in the game. So them being reskinned, even if they don't look amazing right now, is still a miracle. And what you're seeing right now, for the record, if you look in chat, somewhat frequently, you probably noticed I said something about having a 30-minute to an hour time lapse of just the load-in screen, which is exactly what this is. I figured I might as well put it to use. I didn't intend to make it, but it is what it is, so whatever. Otherwise, though, I think you will enjoy today's showcase. It's a little bit I guess, shorter than an ordinary showcase that you might have watched before, but what that means primarily is that I had more time to clean up the clips. I didn't have to do any clips where I just sat there and talked over them myself without, the voiceover. So I don't have a 10-minute clip taking up half the video. It's all little mini clips of different features, which in my opinion is a little bit better than the alternative. So in total, I think that amounts to a better showcase, even if it is a little bit shorter. So whatever the case, I am going to tell you a little bit about progress too. I have put in the order for all of the base animations that we need. That's going to be very expensive, which is why I waited until the beginning of this month. But, for the Patreon funds, obviously. But the good thing there is that just because it's expensive does not mean that it won't be, good results. It's going to be one of the most valuable purchases I've made for Verdict overall, in terms of just what it'll give us, and revamping the base right now is my highest priority. So that should be done within, I would say, 2 weeks or so. I'm not entirely sure how long it will take the animator, but typically getting a lot of them done at once is going to be pretty time consuming, so that's just something to consider. But whatever the case, we are going to start off in a few seconds here. I will preface some of this stuff by saying it's a little bit finicky in some areas. Injuries are still being worked out, primarily because I made a design choice change in the middle of actually designing one of the features. So I'll mention that when it comes up, but for right now, we're just going to be focusing on, in 1 second when it appears, only the engagement stuff. So the primary thing here is that engagements have been, like I said, reskinned. So now, a couple things. First of all, you'll immediately notice this. This is quite clearly just the old interface, if you remember that, but reskinned, and now you can't try to engage someone who's not targeted. That is kind of self-explanatory, but I felt like showing it off anyway. That was a thing that didn't exist before, but anyway, there's a couple things I've changed. First of all, rounds are no longer a toggle select, so it can go up to literally 100, I believe, or it goes up by 2, so anything that's an odd number it can go up to. And then you have injury chance instead of tiers. So you can choose, it defaults to 0, and you can choose whatever injury chance you want. For the record, when you do hit select on this, when you hit the check mark on this, it sends it to the other player as a prompt, and they can refuse it. They see the injury chance and the round count, so there's nothing stopping them from just hitting no on that engagement if you decide to try to sneak past like a 50% injury chance or whatever, right? In addition to that, there's also a new barrier icon. It's no longer a checkerboard pattern. That was causing like weird visual glitches just with my eyes, to be honest. So I switched it to a flat color that's just slightly transparent. There's no difference with it otherwise. It's still the same exact function. It's just a wall you can't walk through. Other than that, not too special. I am going to work on this though. I didn't want to show this off. It doesn't go through the map, so we'll have to figure that out. But whatever the case, that's all, well and good, I guess. The other thing, though, that I'm going to be showing off is combat in RPBs. Sorry, not RPBs, but engagements. It's, the other term from Eternia. But anyway, they are revamped as well, I guess. I can't really say reskinned, but I have fixed it a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember, if you guys watched the old showcases. Previously, when you started the roleplay, it would count down twice if you started the RPB, or the engagement. God, I keep saying that. anyway, it would count down twice, and that was obviously kind of annoying, so I fixed that. And as you can see by this incredible slurry of bubbles, which, by the way, not much of a performance loss on that. I'm very impressed, though I don't really know why. Whatever the case, it's very nice. And once it hits 10k, because all of the NPC dummies here just have 10k HP for testing purposes, he'll KO, and then as soon as it ends, we will notice it finishes the round. Obviously, you win the match. So ordinarily, it would revive him, but because it's a 1-round match, he stays downed. So that's kind of how it works. And if you lose a 3-round match, in the first round you lose, you'll get back up, obviously, but after the entire match is over, if you lose, you'll stay down. I hope that makes sense. Now, we continue this to injuries in just 1 second here. I added a command to forfeit engagements, so now if you so choose, you can, in any engagement, type /concede, /forfeit, /whatever, and it will concede the battle for you. So I'm going to show that off first here. You'll notice as soon as I hit /forfeit, it tells you that, and then it also cancels the battle. You can also see the revive there. Because I forfeit, it actually revives me and doesn't put me on the ground. Now, I'm going to show it off again in a second here with a low-ish injury chance. You'll notice it, once I actually get to typing it, you'll notice that it tells me that I narrowly escaped injury. And what that means is basically that I did. I didn't get injured, but I still had a chance of injury. So while I was in a battle that could have injured me, I wasn't, obviously. And then finally, we're going to show off a 100% injury chance, which means quite clearly you have no chance of not getting an injury if you lose. So as soon as I forfeit, it'll tell me right here that I am no longer capable of walking as well. There you go. So it does reduce your, it obviously impacts your injury severities. Now, that's, I think, no, okay, so there's one more. I do one more injury, right? And this will impact it again, I believe. And it erases the other injury. So there is actually a reason for that, and it's because currently there's only one slot for an injury from a engagement. It's a little bit wonky in that, it doesn't really seem like it should be that way, but it is. So whatever the case, just trust me on it, it'll be fixed shortly. It's not really what I intended, but yeah. So I think that is everything from this clip. It is just a couple more seconds of me screwing around, but oh yeah, I try to heal it. Now, I will say, this is a clip from when I was rushing around trying to plan for my dad's birthday and everything. So I believe I mistyped the command, and it didn't end up actually healing, which is quite clearly not intended. But whatever the case, in just a second here, it's going to stop being this stupid code screen, and we're going to go into the medical mastery. I apologize about that. It's just some random mistake, but this is the fixed version, if that makes sense. So previously, we didn't have these masteries implemented in the prior clip, and we had to use chat commands. Now, we don't have to use chat commands anymore. We have actually functioning medical masteries, and previously there was going to be this whole complicated deal with them where first aid masteries would be physical damage and spiritualism would be spiritual damage and all this other stuff. That still exists in the code, so if you take a hit to the heart, you'll still take more damage as max HP than you will to your actual damage output, but now the medical skills are a little bit less complicated. Basically, first aid will heal your largest injury by a lot, and spiritualism will heal all of your injuries by a small amount. So there's sort of a dichotomy there depending on what you want. And we're going to clip over to focus as well in a second here. I don't know if you guys remember, but crafting has a sort of focus drain associated with it, and focus is basically your creative juice, if that makes sense. It's whatever you guys want it to be. There is no real tie-in with your physiology or whatever else, like mana or health. So it is your creativity, your stamina, your imagination, whatever you want it to be. And as a medic, you need to really consider that. There isn't a huge cooldown on your medical abilities, but if you get too low focus, you can actually start to damage the person you're trying to heal if you aren't careful. So you need to give it some time, right? And if you're constantly doing things like crafting weapons, you're probably not going to be in the best shape for making, healing maneuvers, right? So you'll notice that it's very low. We're not even close to negativity right now, but when we cut over in a second, you'll notice the opposite end of that spectrum. Right now, we're very low on focus, so it heals them for a very small amount of their injuries, But as soon as we get back to full focus, it completely turns that on its head. We will be doing a huge amount of healing comparatively. And the reason for that is, of course, what you'd expect it to be. If you're low on focus or stamina or creativity or whatever else, you shouldn't be healing people. And that's sort of the impromptu quote-unquote cooldown on healing. You clearly don't want to waste a huge amount of focus because it still costs the same amount of focus, right? Now, this is a sort of other version of this. Again, this is what I would call finicky. This is the finicky part of it. It's very, not buggy, but it's halfway between my design choices here. So this is what's behind, the code behind the medical masteries, I suppose you could say. And you'll notice that they are going down. The reason that they're going down by numbers that aren't exactly the same as what I type in the chat is because some of these injuries, even though they might say they have 50% severity on top of them, might be maybe 20% physical and 30% spiritual, right? And if I heal them for 20% physical damage and 20% spiritual, it'll retain a portion of the spiritual damage, right? So it doesn't appear the same way, and that'll be fixed as soon as possible. I wanted to explain that to you guys, though, just so you know why I was having so much trouble previously with the engagement injuries and all that stuff. Regardless, I think that this is about the right time to end the showcase. Again, I understand that it's a little bit shorter than it usually is, but I also understand that that allows it to be more directed. I think it's a little bit quicker, more like an update and more like an actual showcase than kind of in-depth explanation, which I'm always cool with, but I feel like you guys probably appreciate shorter clips with shorter explanations more. So either way, I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to put down in this video. I know the last time was a little bit confusing, so I again tried to make some design choices that move it towards more simple more simple injuries, if that makes sense, and more simple medical masteries as well. And I think that we are getting there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Whatever the case, as I said at the beginning of this video, we're very close to a beta. And by very close, I mean proportionally to how long we've spent waiting for it. It's not going to be like tomorrow, for sure. But, again, compared to the 8-something months that I've been developing this game, we're really close. So I'll let you guys know as soon as I have any other feedback about the animations and any other results from the animations, as well as clothing and that sort of thing. So whatever the case, I hope you guys enjoyed. I understand today was a little bit rushed. Or sort of not rushed, it was a little bit delayed, a little bit of both. Just strange day overall, but either way, we're making progress. I apologize for being kind of rushed in general about it. I recognize that it's, the proximity of the beta is approaching very quickly, and it's sort of throwing my process into disarray. But whatever the case, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys look forward to the next one. Hopefully by showcase number 100, I'll be doing it on a public test server. But whatever the case, have a good day.